that all up, and then whoever receives that pays an inheritance tax. So they have 9 months in order for you to do that. If you don't do that, then the state starts to tax, put a penalty and extra taxes on the estate that reduces the value of what the estate is. The gift that someone is going to give their family starts to be reduced when they don't pay in the nine months. So this is why there is a sense of urgency for me to be out here and to talk to people. But I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about the Register of Wills, the history of the Register of Wills. The Register of Wills office, and keep me on my time because I have to pick up my grandbaby. So the Register of Wills office started in the 1600s. So when the King of England exiled his people and told them to come over to the Americas, and they said, come over here and occupy somebody else's land, because there was Native American, indigenous people who were here. When they said you could take that land and live on it, those people did not want to give the land back. So what they did was start to deed the land. So they started a legal document that said that this tract of land belongs to me, and then they wrote a will that says if something happens to me and I die, I want my children to get the land. I don't ever want to go back to the original people who I took the land from. I'm going to continue to pass this land forward to the legacy of my unborn children forever. Right? So that's what they've been doing since the 1600s. So for 400 years, there have been people in this country who don't look like us in this room who have been transferring wealth from one generation to the next generation. That goes to say to you, so if you're driving down Lancaster Avenue and you know what West Philadelphia looks like, when you cross City Avenue and you're going up towards Lincoln Hall Hospital, if any of you know what I'm talking about, right? The air starts smelling different up there, doesn't it? Right? You see the housing structure is a lot different because they've been transferring wealth in those communities for over 400 years. Every time you transfer wealth and you deed a house to someone else, it gains value. So their property, what it was worth in the 1600s, is worth a whole lot more today. Most of those homes are valued at what, about $1 million a house, right? Because it has transferred wealth over and over and gained value. So that's why I'm out here today. And that's why Ms. Aletta has me here, is because we want to teach you the value of proper estate planning by having a will and structuring the gift that you have of your assets to go to your family, your future. So right now, what I'm doing is educating you on how to fight for your unborn children in your family. The children that haven't even been thought of. Because this is a gift that can continue to be given over and over and over again. And that is your estate, if you properly set up your estate. Now today, I can't tell you how to properly set up your estate. Ms. Aletta, when she has the deeper sessions, will bring in attorneys, and they can tell you that. I'm not an attorney, so I can't tell you how to do it, but I can tell you that it's important to do it. And I can educate you on why you should do it. All right. So, as I said, people have been transferring wealth for 400 years in this country. People who look like us, who were brought here from another country, we've only been allowed to participate for 100 years, since the emancipation of slavery, if you have African American descent. Everybody black ain't African American. So, I mean, I am too. Right. So you're in the conversation that I had prior, where the 1600s, they came and they took land and they made sure that your people never got your land back, right? Our people never got our land back.
Right.
But some of us also, even though we are Native, we did have to participate in slavery, and we were emancipated because my family had to deny who they were, so we were treated just like every other African American, right? And I have relatives who are completely African American. We only were allowed to participate in that since emancipation of slavery, 1865. 100 years we've been in the game. We have 300 years to catch up. So what I'm saying to you today is important, because when our ancestors who were slaves were emancipated, what did they all say they wanted? Does anybody remember?
40 acres and a mule.
Well, listen, my office, we ain't giving out mules. But we're teaching you how to hold on to your little bit of acre. Okay?
Well, today I'll take 10 million for my reparation, and the mule I take electric Cadillac dump truck.
Come on now. Come on now. I get you. Look, I'm with you, brother. But that's why I'm here. I'm here to tell you that what you have is more valuable than what you could ever imagine. Because what they had in the 1600s sure is worth a whole lot more. But for some reason, as African Americans, when we have our little piece of the pie, we never give it the value that it truly deserves.
Right.
We just never think that our home is good enough, we don't think our bank account is good enough, we don't think our car is good enough. But guess what? Somebody else in your family is waiting. When you die, they will fight over all of your little pieces that you didn't think was good enough. They will be fighting over it, and who's gonna get it? And that's why I'm here today, to tell you to set it up right. Because when you don't set it up right, the state of Pennsylvania comes in and they declare who is your rightful heir. And it may not be the person you want it to be. Because everybody in here, the state has already written a will for you. And most people don't know that they're walking all around the city of Philadelphia, the state of Pennsylvania, everybody has a will already written. But is the will written to give your estate to the person that you love, the person that you want to have it? It may not be, because it goes by genealogy. So if you were to pass away right now, they look to see if you have a spouse. A lot of people have multiple relationships. They may have had a spouse that they never divorced, but they're living with someone else who they love. But that spouse from 10, 30 years will be able to come up and take everything that you have if you don't structure your estate correctly. All right? I have a lot of people who are Muslim. I had a guy come up to me and he said, oh my God, when he heard that, he said, the woman I'm with is the woman that has given me all my children. But I didn't marry her legally. I married somebody else 20 years ago and we don't even talk. I can't even stand her. She can't stand me. I said, well, if you were to die today, and he's a very successful businessman, and you know who he is, and I won't tell you. If you were to die today, she would get your business, your cars, your house, everything. And that woman and your children will get nothing because she is the rightful heir. She will come up from down south or wherever she is. As soon as she sees a news post that you have passed away, because you're famous, there will be a news post somewhere that you have passed away, and the first thing she's gonna do is buy a one-way ticket to Philadelphia and come down to my office, probate, and take everything from your wife who's been right there by your side, taking care of you.
To get her share.
Everything is hers, ain't her share.
Well, I
The
mean,
state
that's
of,
a little
and the state
saying.
of Pennsylvania is all hers.
That's a little saying we said. If I've seen it once, I've seen it a million times.
That's right, it happens all the time. So, let's talk about how you preserve yourself. The one thing that we look for in our office when someone passes away is a will. A will is a letter that you leave, a testimony that you leave to the world that tells everyone how you want your assets distributed to the people that you want to get it. Who gets your house, who gets your car, who gets the money in the bank, who gets your special hat, pop, pop. You might want your grandson to have that hat. You say, oh man, he was always bugging me about this hat. I want him to always remember me. It doesn't have to be a big monetary value. It's the things that are important to you. And you list all of that out. We have seen families fall apart over grandmama's gravy bowl out the china closet. Everybody wanted it. And they all started fighting, and now 5 years later, they ain't even talking to each other. Because the right person, it was 10 of them that wanted the one guy, so all the other 9 just mad that they didn't get it. In my family, it was a sewing machine. My auntie had a sewing machine. She brought her from Germany. She made everybody's outfit in the whole neighborhood. She made suits, fur coats, you name it, she made on that little machine. And that was the biggest fight. But guess what? Guess who got it? Because it was in a will. It was will, because I was the one that learned how to sew on that sewing machine, so she willed that sewing machine to me. She said, I don't care who won it. She said, you're the only one sat here and learned how to sew on that machine. That's yours. It's sitting in my house right now. So, and that had no value to anyone but a sentimental value. So you want to list all of those things out. You can write your will yourself. People make it so complicated, and they say, oh, I gotta get an attorney, I gotta wait, I don't have the money, I gotta wait and make an appointment. No, you don't. You go home, just like Aretha Franklin did. Her death signified to the world that it ain't that deep. She wrote in a notebook. And in her notebook, she signed her signature and she dated it at the end of what her wishes are. And that's it, it's just that simple. You can even list out how you want to be buried. You can tell everybody if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, if you want to be cremated. All of that you write out in your will. If you have minor children, it is important to list who you want to have to take care of your children. If you have older children who are disabled, you're going to list that down. And say, my son is 30, and if I die, I don't know who's going to take care of him because he can't take care of himself. So you want to write that person down in the will. You wanna also declare who you trust to give out everything. It could be someone in there that you're giving the things to, or it could be someone who gets nothing out of the will. It could be your pastor. And so I want my pastor to help me distribute everything after I'm gone. So that is the basic components of a will. When you go to write your will in here, there is a sheet in here that talks about how you write your will, because if nothing else, I would like for all of you to go home and write your own will. And it's called the basic components of a holographic will. And holographic will is a fancy way to say a handwritten will. You're gonna sit on a handwritten will, you're gonna say, my name is Jesse Johnson. This is my last will and testament. I am of sound mind. I want my sister to be the executress of my account, of my estate. And I want the following to be distributed as follows. And you start listing everything down. I want my funeral to be this way. I want my children to go to my grandmom or whoever. And then you sign your signature and you date it. Now there are things that you can do to make it more valid. It's valid with that stat in Pennsylvania. You don't have to have anything but your signature and your date on it for us to receive it as a will. But the more layers of protection you have on it, the better, because people can contest the will. And if you don't write the right person in, they can start some trouble for you. So if you want to put layers of protection on it, my advice to you is to get 2 witnesses that say, I saw that person sign it. So you're gonna put their signature, their address, and their phone number. As witness, you're gonna say witness number 1, witness number 2. And then you're gonna take it to a notary with those 2 witnesses. The notary's gonna wanna see everybody and everybody's ID. And then the notary's gonna say, I saw that person, I saw the 2 witnesses, and I notarized it. Now, you can choose to have all of that, or you can choose to have any of it. You can just do the witnesses. You can just do the notary, or you can do both. Completely up to you, what you're
At
comfortable
the end
with,
of this, we will be doing it.
okay? That's gonna be their exercises to get these wills ready, right?
They have exercise they have to do every week, but at the end, because we can't do it under the new management, have it to the community, I'm gonna ask everybody, bring your 2 witnesses with you, and then we will do everything that we normally do for our free will clinic at the last day.
Okay.
So when you walk out of this classroom, you will walk away with a will.
So in the meantime, start writing down your wishes, so it makes it a lot easier to execute that in the time frame that you have, if you already have it written up.
What's that called? Slipped my mind to begin with an M. When you go to the bank and you get a lawyer to, it begin with an M. You put all of your, you put all of your assets, everything that you own, into a
Initial
what?
Trust,
Yeah, a
and
trust.
that's a whole nother
Yeah,
animal.
yeah, trust.
So there's trust versus wills. I cannot get into that because I'm not
Right.
an attorney, so you have to have an attorney talk to you about
Right,
that.
right.
I can tell you that my family, we do trust,
Yeah,
because the trust goes further than that one generation. A
That's
trust can be
right.
set up so that it goes from one generation to another, to another, to another.
Like
But you have
inherited
to
wealth.
consult a lawyer to do that. If you have, what did you say?
Not always, but
If you, what did
some
you say?
trust education in here.
well, when you was talking about, about how we don't pass things, I was coming to mind, inherited wealth. One thing that our people lack, inherited wealth, So
Well, there's there, but,
we
so.
don't use that, we don't put it
So
to
in the
use.
city of Philadelphia, there's at least $1 billion of dead assets.
Mm.
And that's just the property, that's just sitting where no one had a will. And the family couldn't get organized to figure out who should get it. So when you walk down these streets and you see all these blighted houses that are empty and looking terrible, it ain't because somebody just walked away from them, it was because somebody didn't have a will and rightfully willed the house to the right person. So it was an easy transfer of wealth. So we call that situation a tangled title. And a tangled title is when you're living in a dead person's house. And your name's not on the deed, it's still the deceased person's name on the deed. And that causes a whole gambit of problems in our community. When you're living in a house that your name is not on the deed, you can't get homeowner's insurance. So if the house catches on fire, how do you fix the house up? So some of these houses are sitting there because people had to walk away because they couldn't get the money to fix the house. If the roof is leaking, how do you get a loan if your name is not on the deed? You can't get a loan. You can't take the equity out of the house. It's just sitting there, right? You can't get into basic system repairs. There's like millions of dollars of grants that have just been released from the state of Pennsylvania to fix your house if you qualify. You can get a new roof, you can get new heating, electricity, you can fix your whole house up for free. But if your name is not on the deed for at least 6 months, you can't participate in the program.
And if you own more than one house.
You have to live, you can only get it if you live in the house you're living in, and your name has to have been on that deed for 6 months. That's the only house you can get it for, it's the one that you live in, and you have to have the income qualification, you need to have some qualifications. So those are really important reasons why.
Do they do that grant every year, or how does
Oh,
that
yeah,
work?
and they just
What is it
released
called?
millions of dollars, it's like a basic systems repair grant. You're gonna go down to the city, you're gonna call 311 and tell them you wanna apply for a basic systems repair grant. They're gonna get you in touch with the Office of Housing and, I think it's Community Development, OHDC, something like that.
Mhm.
And, you're gonna give them a call, and you're gonna ask them for an appointment, or you're gonna ask them for an application, fill it out. They're gonna qualify you by your income, and then they're gonna send out some folks to come and look at your house.
Okay.
And then they'll send out the people to start repairing your house. It's a wonderful program, but your name has to be on the deed of the house. Alright, so if you know anybody who owns a
This is
home,
right, okay.
yeah,
Basic system repair, okay.
yeah. but-
We have a lot of stuff, we just don't apply for it because we don't know.
Mhm.
And you certainly can't do nothing when you're dead, so.
Okay.
Alright, so that's why we asked you to make a will.
Okay.
Now, what happens if you don't have a will? How do you transfer the wealth? So if the family gets together and you don't have a will, then you're gonna come to our office, you're gonna ask us to appoint someone in your family as the administrator of the estate, which means that one person in the family, hopefully it's one, because usually when it's two, they never get along and agree, and it just sits there still. You're gonna appoint one person who's gonna figure out the estate and distribute the assets to everyone equally. That can get complicated sometimes, because if it's 5 heirs, 5 brothers and sisters, only one needs to come down to our office, so the other 4 have to do something that's called sign a renunciation form.
Right.
And when you say renunciation, most people, it's a big word, they don't understand it, they get fearful, they say renounce. I'm not renouncing, I want my share of the house. Well, you're not renouncing your share of the house. What you're doing is saying you're allowing your big sister or your auntie to be the person to advocate for all of you and distribute the assets. Because we gotta talk to somebody. Somebody's gotta talk to the mortgage company if there's still a mortgage left on the house. Somebody's gotta deal with the lease on the car if there's still a lease on the car. You know, somebody's gotta handle the business. Somebody's gotta go to the bank and get the $10,000 out the bank and give each of you $2,000 apiece.
And don't forget reversible mortgages.
It's just a lot of stuff that has to be handled, right? But these folks will only talk to the person that we certify.
Like a secretary,
Right,
per se.
right, so if it's the executor, we give them something called a short certificate. And then everybody's gonna say, fax over the copy of that certificate, cause that lets everybody know, all the creditors, all the lenders, all the holders of the whatever, that you are the rightful person to distribute those assets. They will not talk to you without that. Now, if you don't, that's when you have a will. If you don't have the will, we give you something called letters of administration.
If you have a will, you have an executor?
If you have a will, then you list the executor, the person you want to distribute your assets to
And
your
that's the
loved ones.
executor,
Yes.
okay.
And if you're a guy, an executress if you're a woman.
Okay.
But in most times when you're handwriting the will, you just say, I want this person to distribute my assets. You don't even have to have that fancy word. We know what it means. I want my pastor to handle my affairs. You can say it like that, whatever. We know exactly what that means. All right? Now, if you don't have that will, then you get the letters of administration. And that means that you went to the court verified that you had the renunciations, you had the death certificate, you have all of the documents you need to prove that the person has passed away, because there's been people trying to do a probate on an estate and the person's still alive. Just doing some vicious stuff.
Crazy.
So you have to prove that that person has died with a death certificate. And in your packet, it shows you the things that you need to probate in the estate.
Yeah,
There's another sheet in there, thank you. I have to pick up my grandbaby from
That's
school
okay.
in a minute. So let me just wrap this up. We talked about tangled titles, which is very important. If you have a tangled title in here, there's 2 little pamphlets in here. One is called the Probate Deferment Initiative. So anyone you know that's living in a house of a deceased person and their name is not on the deed, this is a very special program that has $700,000 in it that will help you unravel that. That can be very expensive. It can cost you up to $5,000 to $7,000. It can take you 3 to 4 years to do it because we have to find every heir that could potentially own that property. And you may have to sell the property and distribute the money to the heirs, or you might get the heirs to all sign off and say, listen, we don't want anything to do with that house. But some lawyer has to contact all of them and show the court that every heir has been contacted and that every heir either wants their piece or they don't want anything to do with the house. So you call this, and if you qualify for this program, they will do all of that for you for free. It's an amazing program.
Oh, that's great.
My boss, Ms. Tracy Gordon, is the person who developed it. She's elected into that position. Unfortunately, we don't participate in the elections like we should. She did not win her race. She is the first black woman to ever hold a seat since the 1600s. The first black person, the first woman. It's always been white men. Well, it's going back to that. An 82-year-old white man is gonna be my new boss. If he keeps me, he may not even keep me. So, that's where we are with that. But to wrap it up, there's much more that I could always come and talk about. But I'm gonna leave it at that, because those are the two important things, and nothing else we're gonna do right away.
Well,
Okay, so when I come back here, I know y'all gonna have the one that, get ready, you're not gonna have it completed yet, but you're gonna have it started. Okay, and Ms. Alette's gonna make sure it's official when we get done with it. And everybody in your family 18 years and older should have a will. Because our children are leaving here fast, and our children have children. And our children are smart. They're on the internet writing poetry and music, and all of that is intellectual property. It is of value to somebody that's gonna steal it out there if they don't put it in a will. That anything creatively that they've developed goes to their mom. I'm gonna end on this last story. What's that guy? P&B Rock, the rapper, anybody know what I'm talking about? Went to California, they shot and killed him, he's from Philadelphia. His mother came down to probate the estate. We thought she was the rightful heir, the new woman comes in. Not the girlfriend. Mama's taking care of the girlfriend and the kids, cause that's all she knows. She gonna probate the estate, make sure they all okay, everybody eat. New girl show up, I got babies by him. We had to call mom back and say, oh Lord, we gotta rescind back your certificate. Your short certificate, we can't give it to you. Because now, that lawyer for that child we have to do DNA. It's a mess. That might not get resolved for 5 to 7 years. And while they're doing that, how are they eating?
Yeah.
Because all the money now is tied up.
Yeah.
And the lawyer, guess who's getting their money first?
The legal advisors.
And tell me why, when this young man was sitting down signing he's worth $21 million. When he was signing all those contracts, why did anybody take 5 minutes and say, let's do a will real fast?
Yeah. Lord.
Nobody thought to do that. It took them 5 minutes to write a will. It says everything goes to my mom, or everything goes to my girlfriend and the kid. But they didn't do that. So now the lawyers will be in there just eating that stuff
eating it up.
before the kids get a dime. And there's more mothers coming out now with the kids.
Wow.
After death, do all the creditors have to be paid first
You have to pay off your debts first.
before, so if there's any cash left
We
over?
talked about how to hide it. It's okay.
Okay, sorry.
No, we did, and it's okay, I don't expect you to retain everything. There's ways that you could, the executor or the executrix, if it's a female, there's a way to do certain things so the creditors don't actually come after that portion. Should you pay everything? Yes. So we'll talk about the day of death. This is the stuff that has to get done. But there's also those other, there's always a loophole. I just talked to the
It's not even a loophole, it's just there's laws.
Laws.
And like Mr. Trump said, I'm never paying taxes. There's laws that say I don't have to pay them. And I hire the best people to make sure I don't pay them.
And when I don't pay the best people I hired, I go get some more best people. Cause he
You
sure
should
don't
he
pay.
said, if y'all paying taxes, y'all stupid. That's what he said.
So you need to show us the way.
Quote.
No, I actually like flushing toilets. You know, you don't pay your taxes, we don't pay the people who come and get your garbage and your trash, and I like running water, and I like that kind of stuff, so I'm okay with paying some tax.
But not all.
How
many signatures?
But if you could legally avoid it,
I ain't gonna overpay.
if you could legally avoid it,
No, if you don't pay, if we don't pay taxes, then we're like every other third, we're not doing it. So somebody has to pay. Somebody has to pay for that to happen, okay? We don't have to roll where your brother's, his trash day, y'all gotta now take the trash to the dumpster on Grace Ferry. We don't have that no more. So overpaying is one thing, I'm with you, you don't have to overpay, but pay your fair share.
That's it,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
For coming back.
Thank you.
In a little week, in a couple weeks.
Talk to you
All right.
tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
There's, they also do the weddings, you know that? The registry of wills,
really.
they also do marriages, it's in their packet. I was like, people don't know that they do marriages.
I went down City Hall. I don't remember where I went. It was so long ago.
Okay, but I'm just saying, people don't know where their documents are. You know, I was like, all I know is I have my marriage certificate, they don't know what happens to the rest of the paperwork. You know, there's a paper trail for everything we do, right? So, all right, everybody has one, now I'll take that, cause I knew she was leaving and I didn't wanna take 5 minutes for something. Yeah. So was that good information?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Okay.
Tracy Gordon is a wonderful person.
Tracy is cool. I remember when she first started.
Yeah,
See, she needed to be in the position she was in because she ran against Julian McClinton
yeah.
when she first started. And I was like, Lord. Lots of times, so. Oh, did you get a pack?
Oh, what?
Did you get one?
No.
Okay.
Oh, a package? Yes. This.
No,
Okay.
just one of these,
Mhm.
the homemade version. Okay, so now. All right, so Francine and Dave are not here. And now, your last name?
Newsome.
Luso,
Yes, ma'am.
and first name?
Michael.
So I want you to look inside the packet. So let's look at some things. I'm looking at, they're all together. There's some really exciting things in here. I always say this is when you sit down and figure it out. There's some good reading materials. But I'll read it in the restroom. We'll be in there to read it. So, I did 8 steps to protect your family. That is, of course, first right of will. So, people think you can just do a trust, but we learned about that last week, right? So, when she's saying you have to have an attorney for a trust, because you can't manage the trust, right? An attorney does have to manage the trust. So you have to pay those fees while they're managed. Assign the power of attorney. And I'll wanna see if somebody wants to take power of attorney's wills or trust. Cause I told you 13 kind of trust, there are 17 kind of wills.
What? I'm sorry. What page are you on? I don't have that. 8 steps to protect your family.
That should be in there. If it's not, I'll put it in. I'm asking people, put these together for me. Set up advanced directives. Now listen, I know when people go in the hospital, they always ask you, do you have an advanced directive, and most people lie and say yes. Okay, however, please don't do that, because when they're looking for this emergency, and they don't have one on file, then they have to make a decision which may not, if you're a witness, they don't want blood. You know, if you're unconscious, you can't say that. And if you don't have an advanced directive, they can't read it. So, And that's just maybe because the person that they called hasn't gotten it yet, but you need to know that it's important to have an advance directive. Be sure you have enough life insurance, remember, well, there's 5 kinds of basic life insurances, period, you should have. And we'll talk about that later. Update your beneficiaries, because remember, 2 years ago, you didn't have nobody, now you got 2 kids, and 10 years ago, or 15 or 20 years ago, you just had 1, and now you got 8 great-grandchildren, I'm just some grandchildren, or great-grandchildren, whatever it is. So please update your beneficiaries, organize your paperwork, and keep it in the right place. Whoever you think you wanna have for your executive or executrix, please, really, that is a discussion you should have with somebody. Cause I may not wanna do it. You may think I'm a great person and she's gonna be fair and all that, but you should ask me if I wanna do that.
Right.
Cause I don't really want to. But no, family or not. And we wanna learn the role and responsibility of the executive and the executress. Because we just think it's, oh, let me just go make some little arrangements and call it a day. Nope, it's a lot more than that, okay?
Can I
So-
trade this one for one that has that inside?
Yeah. Let's see if that one does. If it doesn't, just tell me what's missing.
8 steps, I haven't found that yet.
So, inheritance has a lot of stuff in it. And it should have all the powers of attorney. Has a power of attorney, education and questions. It should have last will, education and questions. You should have living trust. And you should have financial power of attorney and healthcare power of attorney. And it should actually, I think there is a page in front of you. Is that in?
I don't have it
Oh,
either.
okay. You talking about the power of attorney?
Yeah.
Okay.
Powers of attorney, I don't have that. Oh, I see it.
Okay.
Some of them are kind of like together or not.
What's in front of yours?
Things you should know about estate planning.
Right.
And that's the one that should have,
You may
No, I don't
have,
have that.
you may have one.
So this is that, but I think this page is not hers.
right, but the other one you have 8 steps.
Uh,
I don't have that. And what is
This-
inheritance? I don't have that either.
Okay. Just like you told me that, you know, you lie on people that say, put these packets together and if you
Yeah,
put
so
it
this
together.
is the power of attorney thing, that's the.
Okay,
Yeah.
But.
I don't have 8
Okay.
steps.
So you want to base it
How
on.
about this one?
And what is inheritance? I haven't seen that either.
That's actually a will from Staples. Staples has a will kit, but I wanted you to look at the questions that they ask. Because those are questions that you will need to say yes or no to whoever power of attorney or whoever. You should- And if you don't have something, just tell me and we'll just trade off or I'll find it or I'll make sure you have it. So these are the 5 basic insurance policies. And then I think you have the financial. The difference between the durable power of attorney and the general power of attorney, but this is the durable, most people get a durable power of attorney, but at some point, read the information that's required of you keeping a tight ring on your power of attorney, and most of this will transfer to what you